Hi, I'm Sophie.
Hi, I'm Paul.
And we are SP Film Viewers.
And for today's film that Sophie hasn't seen before, we're going to be discussing Fargo, the 1996 film directed by Joel Coen and written by Ethan Coen. And it's a very good crime drama, but what did Sophie think?
It was interesting, to say the least, really. I think there was... I couldn't really, to be honest, weigh up at the beginning what was truly going on. I was like, Jerry, for me, seemed like he was one of those white picket fenced guys, had a brilliant life, went to work, came home, had a lovely house, had a lovely family, and I couldn't really weigh him up as a character, really.
Right, interesting you say that, because obviously it starts off, throws you straight into what the base of the plot is from the get-go, really. So it's sort of like in this shady meet-up with the two.
Yeah, but I feel like he does well at, even though when he's in this shady meet-up, he doesn't come across like a shady character. He seems like still a bumbling kind of...
unsure of himself.
Yeah, and he's not got that confidence of where he's like a split personality. And he doesn't look like one of those guys that would get himself into all this trouble, I guess.
Yeah.
Is my point of view. And I was thinking, is it going to be like a twist where, I don't know, he's actually like a horrible man. And I don't really feel like I knew how I felt at the end, how I felt about him, really.
Okay, but all the way through, you kind of felt like he was a
bit of a split personality. It felt like when he was with his wife, he was like this like perfect kind of husband, kind of picket fence life, and then obviously when the dad came of his wife, he seemed to see this kind of he was intimidated by him. He was more insecure, and he looked like a bit of a feeble kind of man.
Yeah, and so that comes very across strongly. Yeah, when he's trying to talk to him about like getting him stuff, and he's kind of like keeps interrupting him or cutting him off.
Yeah,
kind of thing,
but I think that happens with at work as well for him. He gets that as well when
from the customers that he deals with and everything. He doesn't come across as doesn't own the room kind of thing, when he's talking to.
So then I kind of somewhat feel sorry for him because he doesn't have that confidence and that oomph and appeal that he needs to get where he needs to be. But then at the same point, it's like he's doing all this crafty kind of illegal stuff in the background that you wouldn't even think this character could have the confidence to do when he can't even string a sentence together. So it was a little bit like, I can't imagine him diddling like numbers of the cars and stuff like that and being fraudulent. So it was a bit difficult for me to understand that he would then even comprehend thinking of getting his wife kidnapped, because he just appears to not have a backbone.
Definitely comes across in a way, but I feel like from the very beginning you kind of get the sense of that you're not really supposed to root for this character, really. That's what I see from the beginning. It sets the tone of that, and it's thinking, even if he does come across like I'm not too sure of myself kind of thing, is the reason why he's doing it is you thinking this isn't going to work out for you.
But then is that an act? Are you acting like you're like that so people feel sorry for you? And I could never genuinely know what was genuine from him.
Right, okay.
If that makes sense, like, because of what he was doing, it was like, well, which one actually is the real Jerry? Is it this manipulative one that's in the background trying to pretend you're wee little Jerry that's like, wouldn't do anything wrong and hurt a mouse? Or is it actually you're a bit cynical in the end and you don't really care about anybody else? I'm not sure.
Okay.
So I think obviously we've got this Jerry character. Until like the middle bit of the story, you don't really get a character that is really, really likeable. So you kind of got the kidnapping happening, which I don't really even feel sorry for his wife being kidnapped, and I don't know why.
Yeah, she doesn't come across as a very strong.
No, she's very weak, and
in her appearance and the way she kind of acts and doesn't. It just seems kind of like
I feel like the dad is an issue in this relationship.
Yeah.
He is like the dictator. Like when the dad was there and he sat on the sofa and she's like, oh Dad, are you staying for tea? And she's like, pretty much kind of like, because he's got all the money, I feel.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, we have to make him happy. It doesn't matter what makes us happy, but we have to just like appease him because he's the one providing us with the lifestyle that we've got. And it's...
Which, in all fairness, that doesn't really look like a place where a rich person would live, if that makes sense. It doesn't come across as it looks a fairly basic living quarters for
I think it's a big house, obviously, but
I don't know.
It's not like anything grandeur or anything like that, but maybe he's not giving... Because I don't think the dad really likes Jerry that much.
No.
He makes it apparent that, basically, so his daughter and... Is it Scotty?
Yeah, his son, yeah.
Will be fine and not have to worry for anything. But Jerry, if he puts a foot out of line, then...
He's out the door, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. So, you do have... One of the kidnappers is quite well known. I don't actually know his name, but I know obviously we've seen him in a couple. Steve
Buscemi, or Mr. Pink, you might remember him from when.
No, I think it's quite funny because they say about him being a funny looking guy in this, and they keep kind of repeating it.
Yeah.
And he's a funny looking man, isn't he?
As you've said, yeah.
He just looks a bit smarmy. And
his character in this is quite like slimy and manipulative.
I don't feel like he plays any... Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't feel like there's a character I've seen him as a nice, good guy. It just bless him, he doesn't have that face for it, does he?
So you kind of get a bit of... I notice when he's doing like the driving with his accomplice, that kind of almost Pulp Fiction-y vibe, or the Tarantino thing where you kind of like trying to have a... Not as obviously not slick as a conversation as they would have in that, but that kind of trying to have that back and forth and the way that he's kind of... the F-bombs and all that stuff that he's trying to spit in, but
it doesn't work as well though, I don't think, and I think his kind of partner is the most dull character I've ever watched. He's like kind of
dull, but he's seems psychotic and he kind of just doesn't say a great deal, but then when he gets into gear, he's kind of just
goes on a rampage,
homicidal in a sense, yeah.
It's ridiculous. He is a bit scary and intimidating.
Yeah,
the fact
definitely.
that it can kind of turn on a button and then it's like rage mode where...
Yeah, pretty much. And so with the fact of those two characters and then obviously trying to instigate this abduction, and then there's a couple of murders along the way that happen because of the fact of being pulled over by the cops. And
so they shoot the cop and they shoot the poor little drivers by because obviously they've witnessed this cop kind of being body trying to be disposed of, so then he goes after them and shoots them, and it's getting a bit all out of hand to say that it's meant to be a kidnapping where nobody gets hurt, the wife just gets kidnapped, the dad pays for the money of his wife, for his daughter, and then basically that's to help Jerry out with his scams for the car, I'm assuming.
Yeah, or his financial situation, was in debt or whatever.
He's got himself into a bit of trouble, and the only way he thinks he can resolve it is to get his wife kidnapped. That in a sentence in itself, you need to sit down and talk to yourself, don't you, when you get to yourself in that state where you think that's the only option you've got. It's a bit worrying. Yeah.
So then all this leads up to one of the nicer characters and the ones that you kind of like rooting for, if you want to say, for...
Yeah, 100%. She's a Sophie character.
Yeah.
She's one of those that... This kind of saved the movie for me because it was getting to a bit of like... I don't like anyone. I don't care if anyone dies. I'm not really bothered, even if the wife that's being kidnapped, because I feel like I haven't really got to know her that well to feel emotionally attached if she does get hurt or die. Whereas this character, as you're saying, she's the more lovable...
Quite chipper.
Yeah, she's so chipper. And it's like, part of me was thinking, I'd love to be that chipper 24/7. It's like, I thought I was nice, but you can't possibly be that nice 24/7, especially when she's heavily pregnant. Like, I'm pretty sure a heavily pregnant woman would not be that kind. She would literally flip her lid.
Exactly. And she's going out doing her job as well, like, as if it's
But she's doing her job, and she's doing everybody else's job while they're just, like, sat around, and she's, like, heavily pregnant, walking in snow. in the freezing cold with a big coat on, bless her, and it's like, oh, she nearly falls at one point, doesn't she, because she nearly slips.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, Jesus, she's got a baby in there. She should be at home, be looking after it.
Yeah.
But bless her, she's called Marge.
Yeah.
She says, yeah. Oh.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people say yeah, and I think it's maybe 100 plus that's oh yeah.
I was thinking, in my head it was more like, when they were saying yeah, I was thinking of more like German, kind of.
Yeah,
in my head, like, that was where
it's just from the district where they're from.
It was like, I've never heard this kind of language before. It's quite surreal to me, this is, and it's like, but they'd go, it won't be just like, so one person would say it, it'd be like, they'd all kind of have to, yeah.
Most of the other people, they kind of seem quite laxy-daisy in what they kind of do. You know, when they're talking to other people, it's kind of, oh yeah, you're going out doing the thing, and
it's like a little country village or something where nothing really happens, and they're like, can kind of
just
tootle on, and everything's fine.
It's like there's one instance where criminals who abducted the wife, and one of the policemen are talking to like a passerby who's like scraping his driveway or whatever with the snow, and he's kind of explaining the situation. He said, "Oh yeah, I just called it in, and that's the end of the story," kind of thing. And it's like, "Oh well, thanks for doing it." You're kind of like, "Well, what was the point in telling me this whole thing, and then nothing's come out of it from saying that."
Yeah,
and
it's kind of like he wasn't.
Oh yeah, just shit. Yeah, thank you very much.
Very polite little town, isn't it, where nothing really happens, I think.
Which is a kind of a contrast from, like all these murders and stuff going on when it's quite brutal.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of this contrast with how everybody else is kind of like...
Yeah, it's kind of clever the way that they do that, really, because it kind of brings a bit of light to the movie.
Yeah.
At the same time, it kind of brings a bit of comedy because they are so laxy-daisy and, like, chipper, really, compared to how somewhat dark it is getting.
Yeah, because I say a lot of the other people are, like when they, like this, when they're saying swearing, like you're darn tootin' or kind of stuff, and then you've got Steve Buscemi's character being like effing and jeffing and stuff, and I think it's very much different sides of the tracks, really, isn't it?
I prefer the down tootin' side. I'm not gonna lie. So you kind of root for this cop then, basically, even though she's a cop and you normally don't really care about them in the movies.
But no, she plays a good, strong role, and I think she really carries the film.
I personally agree. Yeah. I think it was getting to a point of like, well, this is just not going anywhere until she arrived, and you kind of had a smile on your face, like you knew that this hidden gem was going to be coming for me, because otherwise I think I'd be like, this is just a waste of my time. You know me, I have to have somebody who I really, really like, and I loved her. She was so sweet and so nice.
Yeah. And
good on her, because she solved it. One woman, heavily pregnant, on her own, and did all the hard work for it, and still there was a scene further at the end, and I was just a bit like, what is even going on here? Where, if it were me, I'd be like, well, I'm heavily pregnant. I'm not going to get out of the car. I can see that car, I found the kidnappers.
Yeah.
I'll phone in, which she does do for backup, and I wouldn't get out until the backup came. I wouldn't be going out on my own to kind of... I don't
investigate, yeah.
Would you?
Probably not, no. If I knew it was a dangerous situation, I probably would wait around, even if it wasn't a heavily pregnant woman.
Yeah.
But no, she does. She kind of just goes up to the thing and essentially pursues the...
And I'm like, no, get home.
Yeah.
You've got a lovely... And I think as well, because you get the background story of her home life, you see her husband.
Who's very caring, yeah.
And you see the relationship she's got, and that they're only 2 months until they're going to have a baby. And it's like, you don't want that hindered because of these people who have caused a right hash up.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I obviously, seeing the film a couple of times now, I know there's no real danger with it, but I know for maybe first time view you might be thinking, oh god, this could be a breaking point for her, and the baby could be due at that point, or something could happen that she lose the baby. But
thank God it doesn't, because the scene that we have is where they basically, a lot of people die in this. So
yeah.
A quick overview is that the dad ends up having to go and get the money and give it to the kidnappers.
Yeah.
He's like, no, he's not letting Jerry go because it's his money. And it's like, it does make me question his dad values. It's like, well, it's your daughter. You know, like, oh, I'll give him $500,000. It's like, is that all you think your daughter's worth?
Yeah.
$500,000. You're not even willing to cough up the full $1 million for your actual daughter that, you know, is your family and your blood. To me, it'd be a no-brainer if I had that money just in the bank. It'd be like, yep, have them just so that I could have that family member back.
Yeah.
So, obviously, then he gets killed quite quickly.
Yeah, because it's almost like he goes in place of Jerry for the meet-up with Steve Buscemi's character. And obviously that doesn't end well.
No, which we knew it wouldn't. But, and Jerry did kind of say, really. And then from there, it spirals where...
So what he does, he gets an injury with the side of his face.
Yeah, he does.
Then Steve Buscemi's character, and then he takes some of the money out and buries the case of money in the snow in an empty field and kind of puts a what's window scraper thing, and things. So you can. The idea is that you can go give the other half or some of the money to his other accomplice, and then just come back here later on and get with a bigger amount of money the rest in the case. But he doesn't even get that far because he gets twatted around the head and put in a what do you call it? Wood chipper. Yeah.
And the way that he did the money as well was like he was obviously got blood everywhere. It was snowing. It was white snow. Obviously, it was like literally a red flag anyways with all the blood and then this little ice pick thing. If somebody did stumble across that, it would be like, there must be something here. It's that, and so to be honest, I wasn't really bothered that he died anyways. But it was the fact that the wood chopper scene is when Marge actually finds the car and she's going to investigate it, and she can see that this psycho is basically chopping up a human.
Yeah.
Basically, there's blood everywhere, and I'm thinking, no, just go back in your car. Why are you doing this? But she actually, she arrests
him.
Yeah. She finds out that obviously Jerry's wife is dead. We don't really...
you don't really see how that happened, but it's either he shot her or something like that, I don't know.
Got sick of her or something.
Yeah, he seemed very out of temper anyway, so...
I didn't know if there'd actually be like a relationship of where, because it was meant to be a nice kidnapping, that they'd kind of tell her what was going on. I didn't know if that at some point would have come into it and then she might have calmed down, or...
Yeah, but there didn't seem to be.
There didn't seem to be like any understanding of why this happened to her. That's
probably works in its favour, because then it might have made the story a bit like, play along with it, and they spun it in a different way. The story that might not have worked so well, but I think it's keeping it as she doesn't know what's going on. That it's.
I think that's a bit cruel, isn't it? Really, like if she was involved in it a little bit more, she might have been alive, kind of thing. If you do, so to speak, and especially the guys that he's picked, one of them is like literally a mental case. It's like I just don't. It's like a psycho. I just don't understand why the hell. If you loved your wife, why you'd put her through what he's done. It doesn't seem, I don't think, Jerry to have much remorse. You don't really see him grieving or being upset of what's happened.
And the fact that he's quick to flee the scene at the car dealership where he works when Marge obviously come in to sort of interrogate him about the cars, and he's driven off, and he's at the very, very end, he's kind of just left his son.
Yeah.
And he's now got no mother and...
No dad, because his dad...
No stepdad, And his dad now just been taken in because he's, tried to hide himself.
In like a motel or something.
But obviously that doesn't pan out. So...
It does make you think it, like... There was one scene where Marge did say, like, I just don't get it. And...
it's not about money, is it,
Yeah, and it was that scene of like, well, you've killed. Why have you done all this? What was it worth? At the end of the day, you've killed so many people's lives. I just don't understand what a little bit of money.
Which rings true, doesn't it? Yeah, that why people do it.
Money is
root of all evil.
Yeah, it really is. It is. It's a horrible thing because obviously you can get a lot from it and get to a lot of places, but how many people you have to step on to get there, you might be very, very lonely with a load of money, and then you're going to regret that. So yeah, I think that's
pretty much, yeah.
The only other thing I got out of it was I saw a Sunny D carton.
Oh yeah, remember them, yeah.
Yeah, I saw it on the table and I used to love that, but apparently didn't it say it's been discontinued because it was going to make you yellow or something?
Yeah, it's very high E numbers in that.
Mm.
And it's, you can just tell from the fluorescent colouring it had in it. Yes.
It was delicious though. I used to drink that all the time when I was little. It's not very good, is it, for me to say that? But obviously it was meant to be fine at that point. No one knew. So, yeah. Pretty much it.
Yeah. So if you want to go to your score.
Okay. It's got better towards the end. I feel like I was enjoying it a lot more. It seemed to kind of take a little bit of time at the beginning.
Until you met Marge.
Yeah. 100%.
Right.
I felt like it was a bit dragging at its heels, and it's like, okay. And I didn't really like Jerry's character that much, and I couldn't weigh him up. I really wanted him to become a good character, but it just did not happen for him. It did obviously have a bit of twists and turns, but it kind of, you could see somewhat what was going to happen, I guess. It was somewhat inevitable what the outcome of this was going to be. There wasn't any shocking factors of... The only shock factor was obviously you had this lovely policewoman who was so down to earth and at the same time a really genuinely nice character that I didn't think would be in this movie.
Yeah, she was the real hero.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah.
And I think that if you didn't have her, I think it would be quite a weak movie. It wouldn't feel as stand out as, like, let's, in comparison to other movies. It would just be like, okay, I've watched that, that's fine. What I got out of it, not really a lot. Whereas I think she does give you a couple of life lessons within this. You do get some meaning behind the story and such with her in it. I did enjoy it. It was a little bit bloody and a bit gory. There was a bit... Yeah, there was a bit of that. And there was obviously some, like, kind of sex scenes as well, which were... Well, not that I'm not my cup of tea, but it's just, like, the more just sleazeball kind of guys, like...
Yeah.
Wanting... Yeah, so that was, like, I'm not really... That's no value added to me for that. So I don't think it would be one that I'd must watch tomorrow. Nor was it one that I was like, why the hell have you made me watch it?
Right.
If you get me.
Mm-hmm.
It was more like a bit of a mediocre for me.
Okay.
In complete honesty. So I'd probably say like a 6.5.
I'll accept that.
It would probably be a lot lower if Marge wasn't in it. Yeah, 100%. I'd probably give it like a 4 or a 5.
Right, okay. Quite a drop.
Yeah.
Right, well, I'm going to go a bit high with mine.
Okay.
I really do enjoy this film, and again, it's good to see it again after a year or so. So mine's an 8.
Really? Why so high?
Well, it's got that the quirky dark comedy element to it that I like.
You really like that, don't thing. You?
Yeah, it's a big seller point for me if a film has that, and it does it quite well with the way the story's told and everything. And you got Marge as a very, very strong female lead, if you will. And I kind of just like the whole way, Steve Buscemi, he acts as the sleazeball, and also how's Jerry going to get out of this situation? And you know it's coming, but the way it's kind of unravels is kind of intriguing and interesting.
I can see where it had come from for your appeal, I guess. It's obviously everyone's opinion to their own, but I think for me it was just...
And also I obviously know it's a lot of white in the mise en scène of where the locations are, but it's beautifully shot in the way the locations are. Kind of like that almost empty
blank
space of what seem, especially in some shots, we've got tiny little people in this thing that's where the story lies, and all these significant parts that happen within the story. So I kind of find that quite eye-catching.
I do think the fact that you pointed that out now makes me aware of that. Yeah, it was quite cleverly done with certain things, and obviously, like he did say to me quite funnily, "Oh, there's snow, Sophie. Don't get excited and think it's Christmas." So I think that with that in mind, it was. I don't really think I've seen a film where it has been based
quite so heavily with
snow,
other than a Christmas film.
And
just the I say, well, you got dark comedy, but you got the humour of everyone going like, "Oh yeah, yeah," and that's just it makes me chuckle when there's just.
I think this was more of a you film. I think for definite. I think it is. Not saying that it's not my cup of tea. It's just not as intriguing to me. I guess I think I saw what was coming and what was going to kind of happen. Also, Mr. Pink. I feel like I just don't really think I like him. Not in a horrible way, but he's always just a horrible character. And I've started to get to a point where like I see him and I feel a bit cringy.
Right, okay.
Like his face just makes me cringe.
Funny looking,
yeah.
Just he'd be a bit more specific.
I think it makes me worry a little bit about the world when you watch these kind of things. Because like, I know I kind of live in like somewhat fluffy clouds and want everything to be nice, and it kind of brings you down to that bit of reality that things like this do happen.
Yeah, maybe not as extreme perhaps, but yeah.
I think it did feel I think in the middle for me, it got a little bit exaggerant, and it was a little bit like, okay, this is a bit over the top now. Like literally everybody's just dying, and it's like someone's just gone trigger happy with a gun, really.
Yeah.
For me, but I think obviously Marge is the be all and end all in this film. She's the main leading lady, which actually she's only in half of the film. Really, do you think Jerry would be the main character, but it is Marge.
Good. So thank you very much for listening, and you can listen to our other episodes on Podbean, Spotify, iTunes, and wherever else you might get your podcasts from. And of course you can follow us on social media under the handle SP Film Viewers on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook.
So thank you so much for listening. I hope you've enjoyed what was, especially my thoughts. I know that some people probably will disagree with me like you have, but I hope you enjoy it anyways, and if it makes you intrigued to go and give it a watch, then let us know what you think too.
Thank you very much, and we'll speak to you next time.
Speak to you next time. Take care.
Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.